Oh boy, that's a good one there. Another good one on the Mikey.
Thanks for tuning in. You're watching In Deep on the Delta, and today I'm going to be doing a video on the Jackall Mikey. And believe me, this bait here is a stone cold killer out here on the Delta, and it is an overlooked bait. It's a bait that doesn't get a lot of respect out here, and I'm here to tell you, if you're not using this bait, you are missing out here on the Delta. So let's get right into it. The Jackall Mikey comes in three sizes. It comes in a Mikey Junior, a Standard, and I think this one is called the Big Mikey, and it is a 6 1/4 inch bait. This is the one I throw literally all the time. It's a bait that has pretty good girth to it, but it's still small enough where it takes a lot of fish. Big enough to pull huge fish, but small enough to take good numbers of fish. Now when you look at this bait, it looks a lot like a glide bait. And this is not a glide bait, it's considered a wake bait. And it has a very subtle movement on it, kind of like this. And I don't know if you can hear it, it's got rattles in it. These rattles have a very subtle tick. When it's moving through the water, it's just tick, 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 tick. But this big bill just makes this bait move like this. Hopefully you can hear that. That's kind of what you hear in the water. The other thing that this bait does that a lot of baits don't do, when it moves like this, it rolls, kind of like this. You see the wake and you hear that little tick, tick, tick. It's kind of rolling from side to side. Whatever it is, the action on this bait is just absolutely killer. So we're going
Oh! Ah.
Okay, so let's talk about a few of the retrieves that we'll use. One of them is just a standard slow motion retrieve coming in, very subtle, making the bait wobble. And if you can see that, it's moving not only like this, but it's also moving from side to side. This is one of my favorite retrieves, and it's a retrieve that I catch a lot of fish on. Now when you're using this retrieve, you can obviously slow roll it and stop it. Move it a few feet and stop it. The other thing that I'll do every now and then is give it a twitch, to give it a kind of a dying twitch. Pop, pop, and then start moving it slowly again. Now here's something to be aware of, and that's where the bait is tied on, right below the nose. This makes a big difference because the angle that you're retrieving it with, as far as the tip of your rod, changes the way the bait moves. Now when you keep your rod down low to the water, you get a very subtle retrieve, which is great for very quiet waters. And this is one of the advantages of the Mikey. You can throw this in very quiet water and pull it through very subtly, where a lot of the big baits don't go through the water so subtly as the Mikey. So look at that, and then watch what happens when I lift the rod tip. It makes a much larger wake. Now I'm casting here really close to the boat. Usually I'm banging this out, but let's take a look at it again. Just a very subtle wobble with the rod tip down near the water. I'm lifting it up, and it gives more of a surface disturbance. This is important because as you are fishing throughout the day, you're going to fish water that is very flat, calm, and a lot of times you're going to be fishing water that's a little ripply on the surface. So by just varying that retrieve and keeping your rod tip either low to the water or up in the air, it can give you a different look on the bait. The other thing that you can do is obviously just burn the bait, and you can see that that bait is now about 6 inches to a foot underwater, and you can adjust that by how fast you retrieve. So it will go subsurface, and that could be a retrieve that you want to try, especially if there's stripers around. They really want that fast, erratic movement. Let's go over one more retrieve, and this is an important retrieve when you are in windy conditions, and that's just to pop and stop it. You're going to pop it and stop it. If the wind was blowing in here and you had a little bit of a capillary wave bouncing that bait up and down, this is a bait that moves by itself in the wave action. So when you pop it and stop it, it looks like a bait that's up there just kind of dying and fluttering on the surface. Obviously, you're going to change your retrieves and your cadences throughout the day, and you want to find out what the fish are looking for and use that particular cadence. So quick bait talk for those of you who may not own the Jackall Mikey. After I did the video, I found out that Jackall no longer makes the Mikey Senior. Now, if you look for these hard enough, you can find them on eBay. It doesn't matter what color it is. Whatever color you can find, they will work out on the Delta. If you're looking for specific colors, they don't make a black and Mikey, but if you're looking for an alternative for the Mikey, if it comes in black and you fish it after dark, black is always a good color. The muted shad colors, bluegill colors, baby bass colors, they all work. A color to me on these baits is just not that important. If it has a white belly, it's probably going to work. It's more important that it floats and that it has this big lip. So let's talk about a couple alternatives that you may want to look for. And I'm going to start off with a bait that I don't even own, and I want to give a big shout out to Gary for turning me on to the 6 Sense Speed Wake. As I said, I don't own this bait right now, but I have my order and I'll have them in a few days hopefully. But Gary turned me onto this bait, and I checked them out on Tackle Warehouse. They're about $15. They're readily available, and I checked out their video of that speed wake, and I'll tell you, it is almost an exact replica of what the Mikey does. And for those of you who may not be throwing big swim baits, the speed wake is about 4 inches long. It weighs about an ounce. It is a very girthy bait, so I think it's going to be a bait that not only will draw some big strikes, but I think it'll catch a lot of fish, and I think that's going to be a really good alternative for the Mikey. And it comes in great colors. It comes in black, and they've got some really good shad colors, and I think baby bass colors and things like that. So check out that speed wake. If you have an MS Slammer, that's another good one that you use. I would go with the 7-inch one. And again, colors, don't worry about it. If you don't have an MS Slammer, they are available on eBay, and a lot of swim bait shops have the MS Slammer. If you have a BBZ Rat, this is another really good alternative for that Mikey. And again, we're looking for this here. This has that same roll and wobble that just seems to attract the bigger fish on the Delta. And boy, this one I've caught some bigger fish on. Probably going to do a video just on fishing the rats. But as you can see, I've got a lot of swim baits here. Here's an old AC plug. I need a new tail on this one, but everything that I throw out here, it all has to do with this. It floats. These are both wood plugs. They float. They have kind of a click to them, and they've got a great big bill on them. So that's what you're looking for, and if you can get something that mimics that, you're going to do just fine. So let's get back, show you the end of the video. Hey, sorry I talk these things up so much and they're hard to find, but if you find one, the good thing is you can use these things for years and years. You generally throw them on heavy braid, and you don't lose a whole lot of them. You might have to replace a few hooks, but they'll last you for years and years. Let's get back to the video. Get going, I like to talk about the grips that I use on my rod, and this may help some of you that are getting hand fatigue or shoulder fatigue. What I like to do, my standard grip is having the trigger, the pistol grip trigger here, in between these two fingers, basically like this. And that is my standard grip. A lot of times I'll keep both fingers here. A lot of times I'll have that finger up there. Also, when I'm fishing this rod or fishing this bait, I keep the butt of the rod right in here. So I'm fishing just like this, very slow retrieve. Now, every now and then I will get fatigued in the hand. So instead of running my grip with the 2-finger, I will take my whole hand above the trigger like this, and I'm going to put it over the reel just like this. Really big hands, that might be difficult to get it over the reel. My hands aren't really all that big, but even with that grip, if I have this butt section in here and I am thinking about where I'm going to strike, I'm always striking against my body. The palm of my hand is on this reel. I have the rod here. As I'm reeling in, if I get a fish to take, I'm just going to basically use my hand on the reel, balance the rod with the butt in here, and really strike. A lot of times I'll use a 2-handed strike. Bam! Once I get the fish on, then I could move back to here. So the difference between being here and here is really quick. I'm resting my hand, get the bite, set the hook, I move it to here really quick, back to my standard position. So okay guys, that is the Jackall Mikey. It's my favorite big bait out here on the Delta. I use it everywhere, but the Delta, it's really, really a stone cold killer, as I said in the intro. If you don't have one, I would highly recommend going out and getting one. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at not only how many fish this catches, but how big the fish are. And another thing about this particular bait, when they come up, whether it's 1 pound or 5 pounds or 10 pounds, when a fish comes up to take a Mikey, they don't come up to kiss it. They come up and they smack it. So this is straight braid fishing, power fishing. You want to set, you're the kind of guy that likes to set the hook hard, this is the bait for you. So thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend, make sure they subscribe. And until the next video, I hope you guys get a chance to get out on the water. And with that, see you later, and I'll see you guys on the water.